Perkins is also with Federal Street. Thank you, Jason.
Okay, thank you. We are now streaming live.
Houston, we're live.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 17th, 2020 Zoning Board of Appeals hearing for the City of Rochester. We will jump right in and get started with, we will not get started right away with case number one. I will turn it over to the chair who will do introductions, and then we will get started with case number one.
Great, thank you. Okay, let me get my screen up here. Okay, good evening, everyone. We are meeting tonight under extraordinary circumstances. Our community, along with communities around the country and the world, have been observing social distancing and other health safety measures to slow the progress of the COVID-19 pandemic for several months. Pursuant to the State of New York Disaster Emergency Declaration and executive orders, as well as the local emergency orders issued by the mayor of the city of Rochester, we are authorized to hold this hearing virtually, subject to waivers of certain requirements of New York State Open Meetings Law and the Rochester Zoning Code. In addition, at a prior meeting, we amended the zoning board rules and procedures to allow us to conduct this hearing in a manner I will now describe. Primarily, these waivers involve the requirements for in-person attendance at this hearing. The emergency orders permit us to hold this hearing by teleconference with no in-person attendance, allow applicants' presentations by teleconference, and allow public comments, both in favor and opposed to the application, to be submitted by email, by hard copy document mailed to the zoning office, or deposited in the secure Dropbox located in the link entrance or in the permit office of City Hall, or by call in to the hearing. Written feedback comments were required to be submitted by 5 p.m. yesterday, and requirements to schedule call-in comments were required to be submitted by noon today. Although the conduct of this hearing has been altered from some of our normal procedures, many things remain the same. All the normal notifications for this hearing, including mail notice, publication, and posting of this notice, were followed. All the normal timeframes for applicant presentations and comments in favor of and opposed to the application remain the same. The normal staff report was prepared and posted on the city's website. And most importantly, this board will hear, review, and make decisions about all the applications with the same diligence and using the same standards required by the zoning code. Before we begin, I would like to explain the ground rules of the hearing. When a case is called, the applicant will be allowed 15 minutes to present their case to the board. The applications and full staff reports were all posted on the city website at least a week ago and were available for the public to review. All applications were advised to ensure that their applications were complete and included all information that they intended to present at this hearing tonight. As the application is being presented, staff will identify and show the pages of the application that the applicant is addressing in the presentation. Following our normal procedure, the board members may ask the applicant questions about their application. After the applicant's presentation is completed, any scheduled call-in comments will be heard and staff will read into record any comments that were submitted after the staff report was posted on the city's website. All public comments will be limited to 10 minutes if submitted by a neighborhood association, and 3 minutes for all comments, and the reading of comments will be summarized to fit within these timeframes. If multiple submissions repeat the same comments, staff will summarize those comments. Public comments that were received in time to be included in the staff report will not be read into the hearing record. After the call-in comments have been heard and written comments have been read, the applicant will have 5 minutes to provide any rebuttal testimony. At the conclusion of the applicant's rebuttal testimony, the case will be closed. However, if the board determines that substantial new evidence has been presented by the applicant during the hearing, either during original or rebuttal testimony, the case will be adjourned and held over to the next board's meeting, adjourned and held over to the board's next announced hearing date in order to give the public the opportunity to review and comment on the new evidence. After completing all of the hearings on the agenda tonight, the board may take a short break, which will be announced. After the break, the board will commence deliberations and voting on all applications, except any application that has been adjourned to another meeting date. Please note that if your case is approved today, a written notice will be mailed to you within 15 business days. The decision will inform you of the next steps to complete and the approval process. Before we open up the first case, please note that all of us here are volunteers. I would like each of the board members to confirm their presence for purpose of a roll call and establishing a quorum for this hearing, and to introduce themselves and mention their area of expertise. Whew. Okay, enough of me. So Jim, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Tyrese. Good evening. My name is Jim Best. I live in the northwest quadrant of the city, and I was a telephone engineer for just under 50 years.
Thank you, Jim. Matt?
My name is Matt Bain. I live in the northwest quadrant, landlord and real estate owner.
Thank you, Matt. Lorraine?
Good evening. I live in the East District, and my area of expertise is marketing and communications.
Thank you. Cora?
I'm Cory Murphy. I am in the Northeast Quadrant, and I'm a licensed real estate broker.
Thank you. Joe?
My name is Joe O'Donnell. I live in the northeast section of Rochester, and I'm practicing architect.
Thank you, Joe. Holly?
Hi, my name is Holly Wheeler. My background and experience is in higher education, and I live in the Southeast Quadrant.
Thank you, Holly. And I'm Tyrese Bryant. I work in real estate and land use development. I've got a background in urban planning, and I live in the southwest section of the city. So let's kick this off and start with case number one.
Case number one is on the first agenda. It was listed as file V-026-1920. It's actually V-26-2021. It was corrected on a later version of the agenda. Nothing has materially changed about the application. It's an area variance request at 72 Thurston Road. The zoning district is the R1 low density residential district. The applicant is the property owner, Bob Napier, and the purpose is to convert the existing non-residential floor area on the first floor of a mixed-use building to 3 residential units not meeting certain dwelling unit conversion standards.
Thank you. Robert, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Bob. How are you?
Good. How are you tonight?
I'm doing very well. You'll be the only one speaking tonight, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, let me swear you in and turn it over to you. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, 15 minutes. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your consideration here this evening. 72 Thurston Road has been a mixed-use building since I purchased it from the city way back in 2007. Just as a little bit of background, we originally purchased it from the city and were able to build a tutoring center on the first floor, along with 3 apartments on the second floor. That tutoring center ran for about 10 years. And once they went out of business, we were able to attract a church that has been operating there for about the past 3 years. And with COVID hitting them, and they having quite a small congregation to begin with, they just simply had to close their doors as well. So in looking at the situation and having actually advertised now for about 6 months to try and find a commercial tenant, we have found that to be a very difficult proposition, and are asking the board to consider an area variance so that we can turn the original 3 storefronts from the building into 3 apartment units on the first floor. Second floor also has 3 apartment units that have been up and running since 2007 and been operating very efficiently and well within the neighborhood. We also see that there are significant needs for low-income housing within this particular neighborhood. So feel that attracting additional tenants to this property will not be a problem in any way. Each of the proposed apartments on the first floor would be approximately 800 square feet. And we already have quite a number of things in place, which makes this for sort of an easy rehab transition, if you will. For instance, our first unit already is equipped with an office and a kitchenette. All three units each have bathrooms within them. And in the second and third units, we have what were former classrooms. Again, all of these easily converting to, bedroom and living room type setups. With respect to some of the comments we received from the 19th Ward Association, first of all, which we appreciate, and second of all, we appreciate your favoritism towards this project in lieu of attracting commercial activity to these storefronts. I just wanted to address three of your concerns. Number one being each of the new apartments will be receiving residential doors in the front. And we do already have a means of egress in the rear of the building for each of these units as well that already exist. Number two, we will be adding a window with respect to a bedroom. And we do have already existing windows in the rear of the building as well. With respect to parking, we do have a pre-existing parking lot in the back right now, along with a 4-unit garage. We can easily carve out one parking space per apartment in this back lot. There are a couple of different configurations that could be considered. Perhaps the easiest one would just be along the rear of the building. We've got about 30 feet, so we can easily do 3 9x18 parking spaces there. And on the opposite end of that particular parking area, we've got about 37 square feet. So we can again get in an additional 3 to 4 spaces there. At this point, that garage is used strictly for storage. So we could keep it that way and not disrupt any type of flow with regards to people being parked in front of a particular garage. Given the situation again with regards to attracting businesses, we have been in an economic hardship because the revenue from the 3 apartments upstairs does not cover the building's PITI expenses. So we have been losing money for quite a period of time here. Even with the church, we were financially challenged because they could only pay us a small stipend, again, given the size of their congregation. Yet we were grateful for their presence for the last few years. We have not had or experienced any type of profitability from this building since the tutoring center left. I think at this point, Tyrese, I would, open it up to questions.
Great. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we'll start with Jim. Jim, go right ahead.
There we go. The proposed apartment in the middle on the first floor. Can they exit that from the rear?
Yes, there's already a pre-existing exit door there, Jim. The way it actually works is, again, if we're looking at it from left to right and say proposed unit 1, 2, and 3, units 2 and 3 right now have existing doors, man doors, that go right directly to the back parking lot. Unit 1 has a door that goes directly to the side entry for the 3 apartments upstairs.
Okay. Can you tell me about the parking on Alberta Street? Is that alternate street parking?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay, when I was out there, I forgot to take a look, so. I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you.
Matt.
Okay.
I would like to add just one comment, if I may, about the parking too. In terms of our unit mix right now with the 3 individuals upstairs, I have one person that owns a car. I have one person that uses the bus line, and I have another person that has 3 bikes. So we feel, I guess, in terms of saying that certainly one space per each apartment will be more than sufficient for what we've seen. And that has been typically a pattern over the years. Because we're right on a bus line at the corner, I tend to attract a lot of folks that use the bus.
Great. Matt, did you have questions?
No question.
Okay, great. Lorene? You muted yourself. You were already on.
I was on? Okay.
There you go.
I just had a question, Bob, regarding the, you said you had purchased this in 2007?
Yes, from the city.
Why does the document that we have from the city say that the sale date was 11/20/21, 11/2/13? What is that in reference to?
I don't know, 2013.
No, November 2nd, 2013.
Lorene, I'm going to jump in here. This is Matt, staff. A lot of times when people transition ownership or change like what the name on the deed is being recorded, it will reflect that as a sales date. So sometimes what happens is if someone buys a property but then later changes the ownership name, but they're still in possession of it, whether the principal of an LLC or they move it into like their own name, it'll show as a sales date, even though it's the same ownership.
That just turned over. Maybe it was after the tutoring group or something. Oh, okay. I was just curious about that. I just wondered. Thanks, Matt.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all. I just thought that was just my concern. But thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Cora?
No, I don't think I have any questions. Thank you.
Joe?
Nope, I'm all set.
And Holly?
I'm also all set. Thanks.
I think in the 19th wards, some of the questions, and correct me if I'm wrong, looking at it last night, they were asking to add additional double hung windows to the front or just to the bedrooms of their letter. Hold on one second. Yeah, all first floor units required. What I mean, just because I want to make sure I answer these questions in terms of the front of the building, would you be willing to add double hung windows and replace those existing windows?
I believe I believe those existing windows right now, let's see, are double hung windows.
Okay, are they? Because I know I think going to the the association's point is just making the front exterior of the building look more like a residential building. And that's
Tyrese, for what it's worth, those are slide by windows. They're not double hungs.
Oh, they're sliders. Okay. I don't have the picture in front of me. I apologize. Yeah, I mean, we
just want to make sure if it comes up in our deliberations, if any of the board members have questions, I want to make sure that we've asked you these questions so we have information to make a decision.
Sure. I guess if it comes down to the type and nature of the window, sure, we would definitely be, willing to consider something different if you wanted something different.
Okay, just wanted to make sure because.
Can I actually jump back on with a question really quick?
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks. So can we go back to the drawing? There's going to be doors added for each one of the units. Is that correct? In the front?
Yes. I mean, from the front of the building, there will be that right now there's only one center door.
Right. So we're going to do the two more.
Correct.
Right in between those two windows?
Correct.
Okay.
And then that one that's existing will be changed out too, because it's kind of a commercial door.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've gotten a few projects like these before where they're just trying to turn this kind of commercial feel into something residential. So I'm trying to envision that door sandwiched in between those two windows. And I guess that's a little hard for me to visualize.
Well, I can tell you that they used to exist there because we, in order to create the tutoring center, had to take out the individual entrances along with little glass showcases that were part of the actual storefronts. Because again, when I purchased it, it had 3 storefronts. Used to be called Hazel's School of Beauty way back in the day.
And then I guess another question, and I guess this is I'll pose this question to Joe because I know how important this is to the association. So, the current door, there's a bit of a setback there with the commercial feel, Joe. And I'm just trying to picture that residential feel if those doors on the apartments on each end, what's that feel and look if those doors were set back or if that middle door was brought forward so they all kind of, all were similar in how the doors were. I mean, is that, what's your perspective on that, Joe, on those front doors that they're adding and then the current situation of that middle door?
Well, I assume you're asking me, right? To Joe?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if
I don't want to get into
designing
it. I just want to make sure we flow some of these questions out before we get into deliberations.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, I think it makes a lot of sense to have the doors align. I think the elevation that their designers or architect did leaves a little bit to be desired, which was identified by the 19th Ward Association with the double hung windows and make that look more residential. If I were designing it, I would probably add even little porch roofs over each one of those doors to give it a more residential feel. And then one of my other comments was going to be to landscape the area in front of it, which I think is all hardscape to create more of a front yard appearance. So those. So
I guess Bob, my question, and my question was more on I had a question about the front because there are some plantings there. And then the other question would be, okay, so my first question is there any ideas to landscape the front? So, adding some grass and maybe doing a walkway for each door and adding grass throughout that front and adding a walkway.
Exactly.
And was there a plan to do anything? Because the back is in rough shape as well. Anything about adding anything in the back in terms of landscaping to kind of lift the property up just a bit. And I know these are all costs for you. Just want to ask these questions if you plan on doing any of these things that you didn't present.
So a couple of comments. I know it's hard to see in the picture right now, but there's actually 2 what the city proposed, again, way back in 2007, they're like two gardens that are there right now with some, just some small bushes. We would probably not eliminate that, but just enhance it so that, again, the look and feel is for three individualized spaces, to be there. And, we may be able to dig up, I guess, more pavement too, to create more greenery in that front.
Yeah, just wanted to throw that out. We'll discuss it. I'm a 19th Ward guy, live in the 19th Ward, and I think just where this property is, Bob, it's a great opportunity, I think, to kind of help transform kind of that gateway, that Chili Thurston gateway there, and this is a pretty prominent building that a lot of people know of. So just wanted to throw some ideas out to you. I'm not trying to throw a wrench in your plans, but I want to turn it over to the public for comments. Matt, are there additional comments besides the 19th Ward?
The 19th Ward, but I do need to read that into the record. Yep. So this comes to us from Zoning Committee Chair John DeMott from the 19th Ward Community Association to the Zoning Board of Appeals regarding 72 Thurston Road. Dear Zoning Board members, the 19th Ward Community Association Zoning Committee reviewed the application for an area variance to convert the non-residential first floor space to 3 apartment units and wishes to generally support the proposed change. There are a number of reasons. 14 of the 78 commercial spaces, which is 18% on Thurston Road and nearby Arnett Boulevard, are currently vacant. Other Southwest commercial corridors have similar vacancy rates. The property is located some distance from the commercial nodes on Thurston Road. It is difficult to find quality business tenants, for small commercial spaces. And there is a steady demand for affordable, modest residential units in the area. We would ask that the board require some modest plan changes. 1, to better fit the residential character in the block of Thurston Road. The fronts, which is the west elevation of the first floor apartment, should have double hung residential windows and residential doors. Examples of nearby similar conversions are attached, and I will show those momentarily. Any resulting concern for security may be dealt with in a number of ways, typically with decorative barriers inside of the windows. Number 2, all first floor units require bedroom windows, preferably double hung for residential character. And number 3, all first floor units should have a second means of egress. These changes will not only improve appearance and safety, but will also make the units more attractive to prospective tenants. Again, that came from John DeMott, the 19th Ward Community Association. And I'm going to scroll through these 2 pages are photos that were submitted as part of the letter that I just read. I'm sorry, 1 page. So I'll turn it back over if the applicant wants to take his rebuttal period.
Bob, you've got 5 minutes if you want to kind of rebut that testimony.
No, as I think I stated in my remarks initially, appreciate the comments from the 19th Ward Association. I also appreciate the examples that they showed, indicative of the fact that this is not a first rodeo, to do and convert a building like this. We are definitely open to, making things look nicer from the facade perspective, adding a little bit more greenery to things and, try to give it more of a residential look and feel in that first floor.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bob, so much. We're going to close case number 1.
Okay. Thank you, Tyrese. Thank you, council.
All right. As I stated in the pre-meeting, there is no case number 2. Applicant requested to remove case number 2. So we're on to case number 3, which is file V-028-2021. It's an area variance request at 476 Beach Avenue, located in both the R1 low density residential district as well as the Beach Avenue Preservation District. The applicant is also the property owner, Holly Creek, and the purpose is to install a pool in the side yard of a single family dwelling, not meeting the location requirements for detached accessory uses. And I do believe we have Holly. Yes, she's right there.
Hi, Holly. How are you?
Doing well. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you
Okay.
tonight?
Good, good, good.
I'm going to swear you in and then the floor is yours. So do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
15 minutes, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking to put a pool in, and the reason for that is the pool would be much cleaner than swimming in the lake, which I love the lake, but the lake this year was really loaded with seaweed and cloudy for the majority of the summer, really from July 1st on. We made the decision to move forward with the pool because my husband's immune system is compromised after being treated for cancer in 2019 and 20. And the pool would definitely have no impact on health, safety, or the welfare of the neighborhood. I have included letters from my immediate neighbors to the east and to the west and directly across the street. There are houses across from me that are all rentals, but the people that have sent letters in favor of the project, they live there full time and own the houses. The pool will be constructed of really high quality materials. So I could have gone the plastic route and gotten a liner pool with a diving board and silver ladders and all that, but I'm making it extremely small, which is 12 by 24 rectangular shape. And it will be a gunite pool, and the steps will be inside the pool. So the steps will probably take up at least 5 feet of the inside of the pool. So there's no swimming that's going on in that pool. It's just what I call a garden pool. Like you go in, you dunk, you get out, that's the end of that. There will be fence, there's existing fence around the property, and there will be 2 additional fences in the front facing the road that will secure the property. Because my home is on the water, it has essentially 2 front yards, one facing the road and one facing the water with no backyard. So normally people put their pool in the backyard, but we just have 2 front yards. I propose to tuck it in behind the side end load garage, or the side load garage. And it will be part of the landscape, basically. It won't even be visible from the street. It'll be in between the existing gardens and totally level with the land. The land that it's being built on is also level. It is not on the cliff or bluff. It's level land and nowhere near any, it doesn't have anything to do with what some people call a bluff. It's not really a bluff. Then my house is I'm sorry. No one will be able to see it because the garage blocks most of the area, and there'll always be a truck in the driveway, so it makes it very private, and it won't have any physical or environmental negativity to it. And my house is a Claude Bragdon house, and it's just something that we really, really, we love it there. We love the house, and we take care of it as best as we can. It's really beautiful. I have included examples of other Claude Bragdon houses and other architecturally significant houses that are located in the Preservation District in Rochester, all with swimming pools. There are houses on Beach Avenue that have pools, and one in particular that has the pool in the side yard, because it's the same situation where the house has 2 front yards and they put the pool in the side yard.
Holly, I'm trying to get to it. Sorry, my computer's a bit delayed with the scrolling. Here we go.
Oh, yeah, that's it. And that pool's been there for, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 years. And that's just nestled in. Now that's a pool. My pool's not going to look like that. I mean, that you can see, it's huge. And there's all concrete around it. And they have, you know, the silver railings and all that. So mine's going to be nestled in where it's really pretty much out of sight. Okay, let me just zigging and zagging here. Oh, so most importantly, I'm asking for this variance because based on the lot configuration, there is no rear yard for the pool. Oh, that was the George Eastman house with their little pool too. That's a Claude Bragdon thing there. So I will open it up for questions, but I need to also address, I'll have time to address the letter that came in again. And that will be another whole deal. So do you have any questions about the pool?
I think you've got about 8 minutes left. You just want to address those now, and then we'll get into questions at one time. What do you, because you'll have 5 minutes to rebut. So you want to use the 8 minutes you have now? Because we've all read the letter. All the board members have read the letter.
Oh, I don't know what your questions are.
Did you want to address the questions from the letter first? That was my question to you.
Oh, okay. I thought it was that you read the letter. At the end.
Yeah, because you have 8 minutes, so you can run through them. We've read them, so you can run through everything.
Okay, so you don't have to read it for the public?
Matt will do that.
Matt?
Yeah. So I have to read it in once the board members are asking questions. So I think what the chair was trying to do is just, you know, you could address it now and use that time, and then you still have the 5 minute period after that.
Will do. Choose. Sounds good. So I just want everyone to know that I did receive a certificate of appropriateness from the Architectural Review Board. So that's one thing. That was one of the questions that, was I going to get that? And the house is not located on a bluff. It's being, I'm sorry, the pool is not located on a bluff. It's being, it's going to be put on level land, and it wouldn't affect the hill or anything. It's far enough away from that. Not to mention that there's stone walls and all kinds of things there. One of the complaints was that the person thought that the West Beach subdivision, which is the Tarrytown Association, has a legal stake in the integrity of the bluff and the beach. I don't know about the beach, but the bluff, I own it, and the pool will be on my property, and it's not the association's land. So the association has the right to walk on the beach, which I love. I mean, that's why we live there. We love seeing all the people enjoying the waterfront and enjoying actually the sidewalk and everything along Beach Avenue. I mean, that's the character of the neighborhood. So we encourage that. We love to have the pets that are down there walking and, you know, picking up all the wood and going in the water. So we love all that. But the association really has no legal claim on my land that I pay taxes on. And I think that's about it right now. Oh, rental. Why does she keep thinking I'm going to rent? I live there with my husband. There are two people that live in that house all year. That's it. And I don't own any rentals. I don't own any bed and breakfast. I'm not a landlord anywhere. So I don't think that the Claude Bragdon house is one that somebody would want to rent out. I
Okay.
wouldn't do it.
Okay, great. And just just so you know, Holly, this board specifically, I know there'll be a lot of conversation, but this board specifically is just looking at not meeting the location requirements for the structure.
Yes.
Other issues we won't be looking at. So I'll start off with Jim. Go right ahead. Any questions?
Okay, how long have you, excuse me, how long have you owned this house?
I bought it in February of 2018.
And you're a little bit east of the famous city sidewalk that's behind a lot of those houses.
I am the third house east of the walkway.
Now, since I'm known for being lazy, Gunite, I don't know how you pronounce that, but what is that material?
Oh, gunite? It's concrete.
What does the name represent? Anything special?
Yeah, it's just high quality. Like it's going to have limestone going around the coping. It's not a liner plastic pool. It's probably twice as expensive as, I mean, I could have gone the cheap route, but I wanted it to be the same quality as the house is, really. Same.
That takes care of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Matt, any questions?
Yeah, I had a question regarding the fence. I know that with the diagram, the drawing and the pictures that were provided, it shows a fencing on essentially 3 sides of it. Is the intent to fully enclose the area?
So there's fencing that goes actually around, it goes around the whole yard, except for where the driveway is a circular drive. So the fencing goes around the whole yard, but I would have to add just 2, one on the west side and one on the east side that would connect the house to the existing fence to make it secure. The fence goes all the way along the waterfront, and I included a diagram of the waterfront part as well. That's all existing.
Okay, so to access the pool area that we're discussing here, so you would have to cross some sort of barrier, some sort of fence on all sides at some point if you enter the property. It's not open at all where
No,
let's just say
the only way I can get in would be there'll be 2 gates on each fence to get into the pool area, or I have to come out of my house. Or I could come out off the beach through that. I have 2 double gates going to the beach, and then another gate off to the east that's a single gate going to the beach.
Okay.
Did I confuse you?
Matt, can you pull up, Matt Simonis, can you pull up the map that she's showing? Because it's clear, it shows on the map where the gates are, and I think that'd be helpful on the diagram. Oh, yep, go back. You had it. Oh, I don't know if that was, yep. Okay, so I don't know if you can zoom in and it shows where the gates are on that fence.
So where the yellow is, that will be the new gate. On the right and on the left, that will be where the new fence will be. But there's fence all the way around the property that goes right out to the road.
Gotcha.
Right out to the sidewalk and down to the water.
Okay.
On both sides. And I also, if you review it again, I included pictures of all sides of the property with the fencing, the north side, west side, east side, and the front of the house. Hopefully it's there. Okay, so yeah, you can't see it. It's kind of hiding, but it's there.
Matt, any more questions?
No, that answered my question. Thank you.
Lorraine?
Yeah, I have a question. On this one page, you have from your case materials, it says the pool is behind the garage. When I was out there, it seemed clearly that you were looking at or proposing to have a pool or what do you call it? A garden? What was
I'm
that?
calling it a garden pool
A
because it's
garden pool.
built
Is
into
that
the,
decoration? Is it like a decorated? Is that for decoration or what? Or if you don't really use it as a pool?
no, I'm going to use it as a pool, but I'm
Okay.
saying it's so small in size that I can't swim laps in it or anything. You know what I
Oh.
mean? And it's
Well, not
shallow.
really. What's the purpose of it? Just for decoration or to sit in it when it's hot out?
No, it's to go in it. It's to cool off rather than going in the lake. I just go in the pool. So it's only 4 to 5 feet deep.
Okay. Mhm.
It's not like not like a diving pool, or it's just
Sure,
like
yeah, I get that.
No.
I get that.
when
Yeah.
you get old, it's just to relax, you know?
Oh,
that's
so
all.
you're really planning for your future because you can't be that old. Okay. All right. But anyhow, it's not really behind the garage. It's next to the house, clearly, right?
It's clearly next to the house, but
Yeah.
the way the garage is kind of situated in like an L, like in front of it, kind of.
Yeah,
Do you
I
know
saw
what I
that.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Meaning
Listen,
like the other pool on Beach Avenue was clearly visible from
oh,
the street.
okay. I
So
see.
this will be like a little more secluded in there.
Okay, I get it. All right. Well, thank you, Holly.
Thank you. Cora, any questions?
I think it's lovely. I like the materials. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Joe, any questions?
No, beautiful house, going to be a really nice pool. The garage screens it very nicely. It's going to become part of the landscape. It's nice.
Holly, any questions?
Nope, same boat as Cora and Joe.
Yeah, and I just want to echo, and I want to thank you, Holly, for adding the additional fencing for potential safety of anybody walking on your property in the pool. So thank you for adding the additional fencing, and it's great, and I think it's very secluded, and it's going to be great next summer. So we'll
Thank
turn it
you.
over for any public comment. For the
Yes,
public
this-
comment.
Yeah,
I
so
think
this
Matt,
was,
so Matt, are you going to read the entire letter or the parts of the letter that address the issues to zoning?
I'm gonna read the entire letter, just so it is on the record, and as we discussed in the pre-meeting, the legal counsel for the board already went through each of the points, so. But the letter does read, Public Hearing Zoning Board of Appeals. It comes from Sandra Pinkney at 377 Beach Avenue. Below, please find my comments to be read into the record during the virtual hearing on December 17th, 2020. Please provide me with a responsive receipt. Please provide me with a written response to each of my comments and with a copy of the record minutes of the hearing. Thank you. Number one, the notice does not inform the recipient as to the designation of the property as a national landmark, nor does it cite its location within a local preservation district, nor does it state the property's location within an R1, nor within a state critical environmental area, nor within a state and local coastal erosion hazard zone on a bluff within 100 feet of Lake Ontario. Inclusion can help assure that recipients better understand the significance of the proposed action. Number two, the notice does not state the specific city approvals that are being sought. Does the action require an area variance? Does the action require a permit for construction, work within a state and local coastal erosion hazard area and a state critical environmental area? Does the action require a certificate of appropriateness? I would like to know, and maybe other recipients would like to know so they can better determine if the action should be of concern to them. Number three, excavation within a New York State critical environmental area and also within a coastal erosion hazardous area is prohibited, and exceptions to this regulation do not include swimming pools of any size, and the pool location would be on the bluff, a protected landform. Excavation would require heavy equipment use on the bluff, a bluff that other properties have seen slumping in the last 10 years. And does the current zoning provide for such a variance? The property is located within the West Beach subdivision, and all property owners within this subdivision have a legal stake in the integrity of the bluff and beach. If this application continues to be entertained, shouldn't all property owners within the West Beach subdivision be notified of the pending action and have opportunity to comment prior to the city taking any action? Number five, while this historic home and property are well maintained and many of the non-conforming improvements are grandfathered in, it seems to me that the sum of all the non-conforming uses might be considered before the city entertains approval for yet another on this bluff. There are 2 driveway aprons, so access to the right-of-way is excessive. The concrete driveway is expansive and surely provides many more spaces 10 bedrooms, and the garage provides even more spaces. The green space ratio appears to be below standard, and the green space is primarily lakeside, not street side, but there is a bedroom and bath above the garage. Plus, there is a bedroom and bath above the garage. Is this even legal? Number 6, there are already 2 properties on Beach Avenue used for year-round, short-term rentals, 213 and 346 Beach Avenue. These properties are vacant except when rented, and that amounts to half a year for each, and vacancy negatively impacts quality of life if commercial use of the residential properties is to be allowed. Shouldn't such use be regulated differently than the standard R1, perhaps requiring renewable 5-year CFOs like multiples? Perhaps different rates for embellishments, property assessments may be based on a combination of the improvements plus potential income generated by the commercial use, taking into account potential added police and fire services. State and local regulations related to fees for hospitality and hotel properties might come into play. Once again, that letter was read into the record for Sandra Pinckney of 377 Beach Avenue, and that is all the public comment we received for that case.
Thank you, Matt. Holly, you can choose to respond, or we can close the case. It's up to you.
Close it.
Okay, thank you very much, Holly. Have a great night. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
We'll close case number 3.
Case number 4 is file V-29 2021. Applicant is John Erlab, the owner of Roebuck Brewing, located at 97 Railroad Street in the Public Market Village District, PMV. The request is to install an approximate 68 square foot internally illuminated channel letter sign in between the first and second floor windows on the building for Roebuck Brewing Company, not meeting certain sign requirements.
Hi, John. How are you tonight?
Oh, he's on mute. John, you're on mute.
Thanks, Matt.
Hey, John. How are you tonight?
Very well. Therese, how are you?
I'm good. Let's swear you in and turn it over to you. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
15 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I wanted to start out by thanking Matt for helping me prepare for this hearing tonight. And thanks all of you for your service. For those that don't know me or Rohrbach's, Rohrbach's started 30 years ago in the South Wedge. We left the city about probably 10 or 15 years ago, and then moved back into the Market District on Railroad Street. We opened Rohrbach's on Railroad Street about 12 years ago, and we're looking for a variance for the sign. We do currently have a sign. This idea didn't really come to me. I usually get good ideas from others. It actually came to me from a brewery in Buffalo, Resurgence. They have a really nice sign. And what's been happening in the neighborhood is that, you know, the market for over 100 years now has really been the draw to the neighborhood. And many things have changed, especially on Railroad Street, especially in the 12 years that we've been there. It's kind of become a district, kind of a little bit of an entertainment district. So in an attempt to continue to improve the look of the building, kind of bring it back to the historic look also. We have some pictures of the building when it was first built in about 1900. There it is, the Bentley-owned brothers. You can see that street. If you look at that picture good, it's a dirt street. It's changed a lot over time, but it's a great old building. We kind of wanted to bring that character back. I also think too, because it's more of a, I wouldn't say 24/7, but a district even in the evening. So it's on non-market days. We wanted to try to lighten it up, make it look just a little bit better. I didn't really want to take the other signs down. There are an extension sign at Rohrbach's. And for those of you that know the neighborhood, it includes Black Button, and Boxcar also has signs that are very similar. The district includes Kat Bucha, who opened recently, and she's going to be moving across the street. Bitter Honey, as I mentioned, Boxcar, Black Button. So the neighborhood has really changed a lot. And I really think that the sign will add, maybe not a lot of street light, but just make the building look more vibrant in the evening. I think it'd be a nice addition. I don't think there's too many other buildings on the in the neighborhood or right on Railroad Street. Railroad Street's a fairly small street. So if you look at the buildings that are there, Station 55, there's some buildings right across the street from us. John Greco, the object maker. I don't think too many of them would have an application similar to ours. So I don't think that you'd have anyone else on the street making that same request. But I think it'd be a really nice addition to the building and to the neighborhood to help us continue to move forward with this Railroad Street district. Looking at my notes here real quick, really that's it. My intent is to continue to improve the neighborhood. I love the neighborhood. We're really happy to be back in the city, and to improve the look of the building. That's really the intent. If it doesn't accomplish that, or we're not moving in the right direction, I certainly would accept that decision too. But hopefully you will see it the same way that I do. I guess at this point, I would open it up for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Bob, so much. We appreciate it, and we thank you. I actually saw some folks out there in the cold on Sunday drinking. So I know folks love you, and I know a bunch of us have been there. So we'll turn it over to Jim for any questions. Jim?
Don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, any questions?
No questions.
Lorena, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Bitter honey, that sign's illuminated, isn't it?
Yes, actually it is.
It is illuminated, correct? So
Yeah.
that's illuminated and your sign would potentially be illuminated. Are those the only two on the street that are, I think they are, aren't they, that would be illuminated?
Yeah, I think so. As far as I'm aware, they are the only ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. Yeah, thank you for turning that area around. Railroad Street is great. So yeah, thank you.
Believe me, it's my pleasure. I love the neighborhood, and it's been exciting to see the growth and the changes over the 12 years that we've been there.
Oh yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
Cora, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Joe, any questions?
Nope, no questions.
Holly, any questions?
No questions.
And I don't have any questions. The sign looks fantastic. I know we approved that bitter honey sign a few years ago, and we look forward to you guys getting back open once we're through this pandemic, Bob, and we wish John and we wish you and your team well. So we're gonna, any public comments? Sorry, I'm moving too quick.
No additional public comment. There was a letter of support included in the staff report that's on the screen.
Great. Thanks so much, John. We're going to close your case and wish you guys well. Have a happy holiday.
Yeah, happy holidays to you. Thanks, Teresa and board. Thank you.
Case number 5. Case number 5 is file V-030-2021. It's an area variance request at 55 Federal Street, located in the R2 medium density residential district. The applicant is Lynn Stango of the Rochester Housing Authority, and I do believe she has a team of folks here with her tonight, so there will be a bunch of people to swear in. And the purpose is to construct 2 multifamily dwellings and 1 single-family dwelling, not meeting certain lot area and yard or bulk requirements or the residential building standards for transparency.
Thanks, Matt. Lynn, how are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. Can you introduce your team and we'll swear everybody in?
Sure. Jeff Perkins is with me. He's on the phone. That's 732 number. And Jason Sackett from Edgemere Development, and Stephanie Benson may still be here. She may have had to drop off.
Okay, I'm gonna swear all of you in. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
We do. Yes.
All right, we hear everybody. Thank you. So 15 minutes, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us tonight. I know it's really nasty out there, but we all managed to find a parking spot and scrape off our car. Oh, wait, I'm having a flashback from last year. My name is Lynn Stango. I'm the architect with the Rochester Housing Authority. I'm sure you looked at your package that we have been through several approval processes already. We received permission to change the zoning from R1 to R2. And we have a special permit in hand from the City Planning Commission to, for some waivers that we needed. But just as a little, I'll give you a little bit of background, then I'll ask Jeff to present our request for the variances. The Rochester Housing Authority's owned this property since it was constructed probably in the late 60s, mid 70s. has 8 buildings on the site right now. Each of them has 2 units. Some are 2 bedrooms, some are 3 bedrooms, but they're all designed as split levels. So you open a door and there's a very small landing. Some of the units, you'd be lucky if the door doesn't hit the first riser. You go down to a living space, which has a living dining combination and then a kitchen off to one side. There's no room for washer and a dryer in the units. And then you go upstairs and like I said, there's either 2 or 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. So there's no accessibility. We're living halfway underground, which you can never control the dampness or the temperature. And it was just a slab on grade. There's no, heated floor system. So we started looking at renovating the 16 units several years ago, and we abated all the asbestos that were in them. We went to the board to receive permission to do the renovations. It was going to be in 3 phases, and some of the board members went out to the site and they were like, we don't want to spend our money on this the way it is. It was, the price was coming in almost $100,000 a unit. And they're like, yeah, this is not good. So that being said, we decided to pursue demolishing all the buildings and building new construction. So the site has been vacant for several years now. It has a chain link fence around it to try to keep folks that shouldn't be there out. We do, cut the grass. We, have road patrol keep an eye on it. So since that time, we partnered with Edgemere / Home Leasing and developed a scheme to construct 2 new buildings on the site, 2 multi-dwelling buildings on the site. There's 9 units in one, 8 in the other. The building has a community room, and the units on the first floor all accessible. And then we have a single family unit that's on the corner of Cedarwood and Federal to try to help with the transition of the larger buildings to the houses on Cedarwood. If you know the site, it's right across the street from the RTS bus barn. So on the opposite side of the street, there's just that wall along the sidewalk. Of course, the units will be, we are in the process of resubmitting our 9% tax application. We submitted in the most recent round and were turned down. We did find out that the city supported our project very highly. We're hoping this application will be even stronger given that we've gotten several approvals since that initial application date. We have support from the Beechwood Neighborhood Association. We've been through several meetings with them. We had a neighborhood meeting in the very beginning of the project. We included Emma and invited the surrounding neighbors to come in when the project first started. Originally, there were 3 buildings on the site with 27 units. There was no single family. The feedback we received was that the site was overdeveloped, that we're trying to squeeze too much on it. It is nearly an acre, but by the time you squeeze all the parking requirements, there wasn't much green space. So we like this design being 2 buildings, more green space. Each of the units has their own private outdoor space, either by a porch or a balcony. All the units on the first floor are fully accessible, not just visitable. And the single family also has an accessible first floor and then 2 bedrooms upstairs. So where we're at now with our process is we require a few variances from the zoning board, and then we can hopefully get our funding approved probably mid-winter, early spring. I'm not sure when we'll actually find out, and then we can really start construction. We anticipate that the project between public and private money will be roughly in the $15 million range. Keep in mind that it includes these buildings and 31 units or 33 units of scattered sites within the Beechwood neighborhood. We own several singles, a few doubles, and a fourplex that are part of this larger project. We are demolishing, I think, 3 units of the scattered sites, building new units on those sites, and extensively renovating the rest of them. We don't anticipate we'll have to relocate our residents temporarily from the other units, but we don't see any permanent relocation. Folks may decide to go to the scatters and come here, or they may say, no, we're just want to live in another one of RHA's scattered sites. We have another resident meeting scheduled for late January with our residents to talk about where we're at. Our plan also aligns with the Rochester Comprehensive Plan of 2034 and Connected Communities Beechwood Neighborhood Plan. So having said that, I'd like to invite Jeff to talk specifically about the variances that we're seeking.
Thanks, Linda. Hi, everybody. This is Jeff Perkins, and I work for Lero Engineers. And we had an architect working with us from Architectura. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're another local architect who is in the city of Rochester. And we've been working on this for, it seems like well over a year anyways. And Linda was correct in the development process. Not only did we listen to the Rochester Housing Authority as to what they wanted, we also listened to the neighborhood groups to say, you know, what would you accept? Because, you know, there's been other projects where not everybody was as pleased with. And we certainly wanted our customer and the community to be very happy with the product that we come up with. Having said that, there are 3 variances, and the first one has to do with the maximum building height. The requirement was 2.5 stories at 35 feet tall. And this building, if you look at the elevation here, it's 3 stories, and the building height is about 35 feet tall. So that's variance number 1 we would like to get approved. The second one has to do with the glass space. Now, this is something where the way the sizes of the rooms are for the units for public housing requirements and all that sort of thing, it becomes very difficult to put in windows much larger than this and keep with the same styling, which is, you know, it has that neighborhood feel similar to the other multi-unit dwellings on the street. So that was the reasoning behind that design. And so the variance for this would be to waive the amount of windows and transparency, so to speak, of that building. The other one has to do with the setback from the streets. And what we wanted to do was try to set the building back a little bit in both cases so that it would have a better curb appeal. Especially with a 3-story building. If it's too close to the road, then it looks like it's, you know, much more massive, if you will, and it doesn't have the same neighborhood look and feel as you drive down the street. So that was the goal behind that. So, Linda, anything else you want me to cover?
No, I think you did. The windows are really in scale with the building. I want to say, I think they're 30 inches wide and maybe 5 feet high. So it's not those double hungs, the 4/1s. Obviously the windows at the elevation looking at now on the left-hand side are smaller, but those other windows are big. There's also full glass doors on each of the porches. So I don't think there'll be an issue of enough light in the units. It's just more of a, you know, I think of the standard, you know, so we feel strongly that the 18% does work with the scale and the massing of the buildings. We look forward, hopefully, to your approval, like I said, to make our application even stronger for HDR. We do submit it. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're going to open it up to questions. Jim, why don't you go right ahead?
You said before that the property has been vacant for quite a long time, years, as a matter of fact.
We relocated the residents that live there. So I want to say it's probably been vacant for 2 years. We did get permission from HUD to demolish it. But we didn't want to segment the process with the city, so we didn't want to demolish it and then construct. It's very tricky with HUD when you do what's called a RAD conversion, which is called Rental Assistance Demonstration Program. They won't give us the subsidies. They won't give us the Section 8 vouchers for the units if they don't exist. So if we were to demolish the buildings, we may not get that subsidy. We may get it now, even though the units were vacant, but it gets a little vacant, but it gets a little tricky if the units don't exist. Right now they exist even though they're vacant.
Okay, I'm really impressed with the fact that you're putting up so many, porches for people. It's a nice little touch. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Matt?
I have no questions.
Thanks, Matt. Lorraine?
I don't have any questions.
Cora?
Are there somewhere in the drawings where the green space would be or what that would look like?
And so, Cora, I think it shows a little bit on the site plan, but we're proposing some play structures and then I believe some native vegetation. Jeff, if you could go to the site plan, or Matt, and zoom in possibly, it would give her a feel for what we're proposing.
Give me a second here. I'm going to try to zoom in on what we're looking at here.
Yep, that's it.
So this area
Yeah, it would
here
have
is
probably
the
helped
parking.
if we colored it, but you'll see behind both of the large buildings, there's quite a bit of green space between, kind of providing somewhat of a backyard on those two buildings.
So I'm going to have the applicant. So this is the parking area here, and anyone from the applicant side who wants to correct me. This is the parking area here in between the two larger buildings with the refuse area back here, and then these are just pedestrian sidewalks you see here, but all of this is all just yard space.
Got it. So it's building, parking lot, building, single family, kind of tucked
on the corner, yeah.
On the corner. Okay.
Yes.
And then did you say that there's a community room in one of them?
Yes.
Okay. And then, I had another question. I was just curious. You said that part of the project was, just because I didn't catch this number, how many scattered units throughout the neighborhood?
It's 36 total in the project wide. So we have a single family as a part of Federal Street and then 36 others.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much. I like this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cora. Joe?
No questions.
Holly?
Just a quick question. You said that there were 6 accessible units. Is that what you said?
There are 5 type A units in the 2 multi-unit buildings, and then the single family ranch style home is also accessible.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
And thank you. I don't have any questions. Matt, any public comment to read into the record?
Give me 1 second here. I do not believe there was anything additional. Let me just verify that. So there was one email that was included in the staff report publication, but nothing additional.
Okay, great. And Lynn, you and your group, thank you so much. We're going to close your session. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on, case number 6, file V-031-
Yes, Joe has.
Tyrese?
You want to read it? You want to read it first, then you can recuse
No, he
yourself?
can.
Yeah, just,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was just notifying the board and the public that I have to recuse myself from this case.
Thank you, Joe.
So he'll turn off his video and sound, which is the equivalent to leaving city council chambers in modern day.
I mean,
Okay.
you see him. I don't want him to intimidate me through this camera. Go ahead, Matt.
Case number 6 is file V-031-2021. It's an area variance request at 117-125 Highland Parkway in a institutional plan development district known as an IPD. The applicant is the property owner, Maison Properties, Heidi Scorzone, and the purpose is to add a total of 6 additional dwelling units within the 2 existing buildings on site, 3 in each building, and to add 6 additional parking spaces and expansion of a non-conforming use. And we have Heidi on the call and also Roger. There's 2 people total.
Heidi, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me tonight.
So we got you and Roger. Are you both speaking tonight?
Yes, we are. This is Roger from Greater Living Architecture.
Okay, fantastic. Let me swear you both in and we'll get started. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, 15
I do.
minutes. Thank you. 15 minutes. The floor is yours.
Heidi, if you like, I'll begin.
That'd be great. Thank you, Roger.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for hearing our case. As always, people hate change. Must be a million books on it, the subject, and landlords hate change too. If they could buy a property at a fair value and nothing changed, taxes, insurance, rent, tenants, utilities, improvements, renovations, they would be happy, not raising rents, not kicking tenants out, no turnover. It just isn't real. So in order to make the owner's investment property more economically viable, additional apartment units are necessary in order for this project to succeed. The owner is requesting the ability to have 6 new units constructed within the existing building. Some are in the, 2 of them are in the basement area, and 4 of them are in the attic space of the existing buildings. There are going to be no changes to the exterior of the buildings, and they want to add 6 additional parking spaces for these 6 additional units. The applicant and architect held an open Zoom meeting available to all tenants and the neighborhood association. The Highland Park Neighborhood Association held the meeting, invited local, the area neighborhood people as well as the tenants. This meeting was held on December 8th. And the Highland Park Neighborhood Association has endorsed this project. So these 6 additional parking spaces are going to be 90-degree spaces to allow vehicles to be off the road, to allow the passing of emergency vehicles. Currently, people are parking on the road illegally, blocking emergency vehicles from getting to the Divinity School. And our proposal includes moving these spaces, 4 of them 90 degrees off of that roadway and 2 of them parallel off that roadway to allow for access of the emergency vehicles. Currently, the parking on site, there are 19 current apartment units with 25 available parking spaces. And these 6 additional units, the number of parking spaces is in excess of what the zoning ordinance is for those 19 units. The 6 additional units require 6 additional parking spaces. And that is what our proposal includes, is providing those new 6 spaces. So our proposal exceeds the zoning requirements for that area. And we are not having public access, allowing public access to the Divinity development. That gate will remain closed. So part of what we're trying to do is maintain emergency access, decreasing the amount of vehicles on the roadway, yet complying with the zoning requirements. Let's see. I guess there has been some questions raised as to the zoning variance sign not being up in proper time limits. I know from my experience that the zoning board has heard cases like this in the past without the sign being up within the required time period. I ask that at least we have the discussion about it. I know that some residents, particularly local landlords and other tenants, have raised issues, some of them building department related. I'm going to refrain from responding to those because the building department needs to, first of all, a formal submission needs to be made to them and needs to comply with the building code. So obviously we can't make any improvements at all without meeting building code requirements. Heidi, I guess I'd like to know if you have anything to add.
I know the neighborhood was passing out postcards too, letting the residents know that this hearing was being placed today. We did send a notification out, so I think that would be it.
All right, I guess I'll ask.
Okay, anything else, guys?
No, good.
Okay, I know that we talked about it in our pre-meeting. I know that we received the seeker a little late, and I know that I wouldn't call it minor. We received a substantial information yesterday of disapproval of this project that I think a lot of folks are going to want to hear from you, Heidi, and have you address. But let's turn it over to the board first to ask their questions. So go ahead, Jim.
Roger, when you mentioned before about people parking illegally and blocking off potential emergency vehicles, are those your tenants or are those other people?
Right now it's used as guest parking.
Of course, we were talking about the lack of notification on when that sign was put up. I noticed that there's an awful lot of negative letters came in, which of course we read it pretty soon. So the word has seemed to have spread quite a bit. You're proposing 3 more units in each of the 2 buildings?
That is correct.
Tell me about the ones in the basement. What are they good? What's down there now that these are going to replace these 2 units?
Right now there's 1 apartment in 125 basement, and 117, they're using it as somebody put their workout equipment down there, storage equipment. They both have full walkouts and bathrooms that are not necessarily working. They were just used years ago.
Okay.
If I may interject, they're basically vacant areas. So it's not like we're taking any amenities away from the tenants.
How long have you owned the property?
2015.
And what was there, let's say 10 years ago, what were the buildings used for?
From what I was told, it was part of the divinity school. And they broke it off before I bought it. I'm not really sure. It was rental units when I bought it.
Have you made any changes to the building since you acquired the building?
We've refurnished hardwood floors, upgraded the units. As far as structural changes, absolutely no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Matt, any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple easy questions, hopefully. Just because the drawing for me is a little blurry, I just wanted to know, I know that there's, in the basement and the attic, it looks like you're proposing additional units. Are there two modes of egress for all tenants or all units?
All the units will be designed to meet with the current New York State Building Code.
Okay, and out of curiosity as well, how much additional square footage would this add for you? Roughly, just trying to get a sense of how big the units are.
Yeah, the one bedrooms, I believe, are around 800 square feet. And the studios are about 600, if memory serves me.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Lorraine?
Yes. How many tenants currently live in the buildings? Total number of people?
We have 19 units there currently. I'd have to get the number of how many. A lot of them are studios in 117. I'm not sure. Sometimes residents move in and out of relationships. So I could get the count and email it to you guys as far as how many leases and how many people we have.
Do you have just a
rough number? 25.
Oh, okay. So the interior for both of the buildings is redesigned and refurbished, basically.
Correct. The attic space and the basement space. The remainder of the units currently, unless Heidi corrects me, there are no proposed modifications.
So there's no changes to anything else in the buildings? Just you're adding on, basically?
Yes.
In a sense. Not structurally, but interior-wise, correct?
Correct.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yes, currently it's vacant attic space that we're proposing to renovate to 2 units in each building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Cora?
I don't think I have any questions right now.
Okay. Holly, any questions?
Yeah, I just have a parking question. So when I was out there in 2-ish weeks ago, there were cars parked all along that sort of interior road there in front of the buildings where, like sort of right in front of actually where those parking spots are that are proposed. And so are those people who are visiting, or just are they not supposed to park there? Where are those good people going to park now? Can someone sort of clear up that for me?
Those are visiting parking spots now. People are home a lot more now. I'm not really sure if they're having more visitors over. But yeah, we propose that, we add the additional parking spaces so that we do have more parking spots for visitors and people.
Okay. And so
I'm going to interject here just briefly. Human nature is you park in the easiest location possible, the shortest distance to the door. So in order not to navigate other parking spaces, behind the building so that somebody's not dinging your car or whatever else, people will find the easiest place to park. So it's going to be my guess that tenants are parking out in the roadway because it's easy and nobody's putting any tickets on their car.
Okay. And so those 6 spots, is that currently grass? Are you losing the green space that's in front of the buildings there?
That is currently grass. And there's currently no parking spaces in front of those spaces.
And
So
so
it's not-
what, if we're looking at the map that we're looking at now, what's left as green space?
Everything behind the parking areas and on the sides of the building.
Okay. Thank you. That was
So
it.
there are a lot of mature trees back in those areas as well. So if you look at the Google image, you'll see there's a lot of mature trees there that it's,
Okay.
in order to create more parking back there, we would be removing mature trees.
Got it. Okay, thank you. That was it for me.
Thank you so much. And just curiosity, are you planning any, Heidi, any exterior improvements to the property?
We did want to add some landscaping, in front of the building and possibly a fence behind.
Any physical upgrades to the existing exterior of the buildings themselves?
The exterior, those are, we didn't plan on it. If they suggest something we should do, then we can. But I mean, they're historical buildings. They're beautiful. I don't know if you've driven by there, but yeah.
I have. My point is, I think to some of the comments and to my comments, I think the buildings are very nice, but I do think they are in some need of some upgrades. That was my point in saying that. And some points that some people have made in their comments on the conditions of the buildings. And I get that you're trying to add some additional revenue to potentially help with possibly some of these improvements. So I just wanted to ask the question generally and to understand the scope and breadth of the entire project. So Matt, do we have any just a comment, no question. Do we have any call-ins? You may have told me.
Yeah, before we get there, I just want to remind everyone, so something to keep in mind here, what the purview is. So what we have is a bit of a unique circumstance. So you have a parcel that's in I'm going to call it a leftover zoning district. This is described in in the staff report that everyone has access to on the city's website right now for the public to see, is that this IPD that is no longer in existence. And the code states that when that's no longer in existence, it reverts to the R1 low density residential district. So bit of unique that it reverts to that district, but what the request is here is the expansion of a non-conforming use. So the charge for the zoning board is trying to make a determination if, for example, is it a substantial request to add from one building 12 units to 15, another building from 7 units to 10 units? And then you're using those standards on the front of the staff report to say, will the benefit to the applicant outweigh any of the potential detriments? Or will a change be created in this character of this R1 low density district? Is it a substantial request based on that increase? These are all the things that are what this request is, just as a reminder and just so everyone viewing knows what the board's charge is here tonight. There are, we did have some call-ins.
So before we start, how many call-ins do we have for this case?
I believe there are 3. Chris, I'm gonna have you confirm that though.
Yep, there are 3 folks here, John Griffith, Kevin Fager, and Sheila Murphy.
Okay, and based on the feedback that came in, because I think all, if not almost, wrote letters of opposition. I believe they're all here for opposition. So what we can do, Chris, you can move the first person over, and then the chair can swear them in individually, and then they can provide their 3 minutes.
All right, Kevin is in now.
Kevin, how are you tonight?
Okay, how are you?
Good, Kevin. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Kevin, I wish I had a bell or something because you're our first caller ever since we started this in May. So I just want to say that, you get a special prize. I can't sing you anything, but just want to let you know so you can feel special that of all these hearings, you're our first caller ever. So I hope that makes you feel good. So let me swear you in and let you get started. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, 3 minutes. The floor is yours.
Well, I'm concerned about a number of issues. I don't know what kind of math they were using in terms of addressing parking, but I count 22 spaces up there. There are 5 two-bedroom apartments. I think they barely meet the requirement of parking right now. They originally got a certificate of non-conform use a while ago. I don't think the board legally is able to actually grant another one since they've gotten their one bite at the apple to get that non-conforming use. So parking is an issue, and as one of the members mentioned, there are always cars along that roadway. It's been like that. I've lived here for 44 years, so I've seen what's happened to that property over time. I'm concerned about just what some of you have raised about the condition of the buildings. I walked up there the other day. The gutters are filled with leaves. There's algae growing on the back of it. If we can't maintain basic maintenance like that, I just wonder what else is going to happen. This is the first year they haven't piled leaves outside on the roadway for the city to remove, which really isn't their obligation, and people have complained about that. I also, would like to maintain the character of this neighborhood, which is essentially an R1 zone. We're already going to get more high density from what's going to happen up at the Divinity School. We don't really need more of it. Some of the plans that were presented, Joe had said that, a sprinkler system would be adequate to take care of the requirement for egress in the attic apartments. I don't believe that's true. I think you need at least 2 methods. And the same thing is true of the basement apartments. If the thing is approved, I think that first of all, the tenants should be respected who are there. They should be given, privacy and the right to have peace and quiet. So I don't think construction should happen other than from the hours of 8 to 4 and only on weekdays. I am concerned too about the lack of notice to the neighborhood. We did get postcards. Tenants never got them. The sign went up maybe about a week and a half ago. I walk my dog up there around Highland Parkway every day, so it's surprised it went up. Went up probably because Bob Thompson had reminded the city that it hadn't gone up. Also within that parking realm, I don't see any plan to deal with snow. Once you start having to plow snow, it's going to go someplace. We're also losing all the green space. When you look at their parking plan, they're really just taking the 4 spaces that are on the roadway right now and moving them parallel to the perpendicular parking to the one house. And they really need those spaces right now to meet their existing needs. So they're really only adding 2 spaces over at 117. They're not adding 6 as they claim.
Okay, Kevin, thank you so much. And we appreciate you being our first one tonight. And thank you. And we hear your comments. Who do we have next?
Bear with me 1 second here.
Sorry, I was trying to get back to you. We have John Griffith up next.
Okay.
John is in now.
Can you see me and hear me?
Hi, John. How are you?
Good. You have a nice dog, Therese.
Thank you. You're our second caller ever. I don't know if you knew that, but you're our second caller ever.
I did know that because Kevin was the first.
So we appreciate it. Let me swear you in and let you get started. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
3 minutes. The floor is yours.
Okay, I would echo what Kevin said about the the parking, I took some photographs this morning, but what's happening in real life is along the 117 side, there's two marked spaces. This morning, there were 4 cars parked there on the street. So really they're talking about moving 2 of the marked spaces off the street into the lawn. And then if you're going to enforce no parking on the street, you're actually will be losing 2 spaces there and then adding the 4 on the other side. So I think really you're talking in real life about adding 2 to 4 parking spaces. And at least I'm looking at the plans, it's 2 studio apartments and then 5 additional bedrooms, and really adding 2, I would say 2 at best 4 parking spaces for that. That doesn't seem adequate to me. I think the number of units probably should be scaled back because of the parking. And then the other thing, I don't know, I'm a non-attorney, but in the city code 120, 199, certificate of non-conformity application paragraph B, it says, no structure containing a non-conforming use shall be structurally altered or enlarged unless the use thereof shall thereafter conform to the regulations of the zoning district in which it is located. No parking, yard, space, or bulk non-conformity may be created or increased. So I'm not an attorney, but to me, that you talk about this being a non-conforming use in your agenda, so I would just ask your legal department if they're allowed to create additional parking. And then finally about the seeker stuff, I don't think you should make a decision until the public's had a chance to see that and maybe offer some comment on that. So I think you ought to postpone making a decision until the next meeting. That's all I've got. Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you, John. We appreciate it. Have a good night. Who do we have next?
Next, we have Sheila Murphy. I'm going to bring her in. And Sheila is with us now.
Hi, Sheila. How are you?
Therese, just make sure that public speakers identify their name and address for the record, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Sheila.
Hello.
I'm going to swear you in, and then once I swear you in, you give me your name and your address. So do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So just repeat your name and address for me.
My name is Sheila Murphy, and I live at 129 Highland Parkway.
Thank you. So you've got 3 minutes. Go right ahead.
Okay, I have more than 3 minutes, but I'll have to just use my 3. I am opposed to this project, and I do have a number of concerns that some have already been raised. One was that the sign was not put out in a timely manner. So the residents of the apartment buildings did not receive a postcard, so they only knew through talking to other neighbors, homeowners. And I think that is a major issue. And I have been to another meeting where the meeting was postponed because a sign wasn't put up in a timely manner. So the architect said one thing, but it actually does happen that things are postponed because of lack of signage. This is the first I'm hearing about the seeker, and I really would like to read those documents too before any decision is made, because I'm very curious about what it said. These apartments, when we had this, I want to clear up that the Highland Park Neighborhood Association wrote a letter in support of these apartments in this expansion without talking to any resident of the buildings or any neighbor on Highland Parkway or Howland or Summit. So that was from the board, period. It does not represent those of us in the neighborhood. The meeting that was put together on Zoom last week was just through neighbors, and we asked Bob Thompson to arrange it. And Heidi and Joe did show up, which we appreciated. However, some of the information that they shared with us was conflicting. When I look at the report or the application to the city, I see that construction time is going to be 8 to 10 months. When we asked, the architect, Joe, said, oh, it'll be 30 to 45 days per building, which does sound quite unrealistic, but the application says 8 to 10 months. That's a really big difference. When we asked how many units or what was the configuration of the units, they said there were studios and 1 bedrooms. I see a 2-bedroom unit in the attic of one of the buildings. If you look carefully, you'll see a 2-bedroom, a master bedroom, a bedroom, and a living room. And the studios appear to be 1-bedrooms to me because it says studio and then it says living room and then it says kitchen. So that seems like a 1-bedroom to me. But the biggest issue is the 2-bedroom in terms of parking, because only 1.5 parking spaces is needed for that. They didn't address the issue of dust, noise. Some people are retired, some people have children, some people work at night and try to sleep during the day. Some people are working from home. So 8 to 10 months of dust, noise, construction. And Heidi might have been trying to be nice, but she said she would tell the construction people to be quiet. Obviously, that's not possible. Let's see, the parking issues, those 4 spots, and I'm confused about people calling it a roadway versus a driveway. So that I would like clarity on that. But anyway, those are existing spots that are used every day by people who live in these buildings. So that's been addressed by other people already. The parking is a problem. It's paving over green space, very little green space, and that's a quality of life issue. And this is an R1 neighborhood, that is an R1 area.
You want to make one last point for me?
Okay, the last point was what John said about the 120-199B, that no parking yard space or bulk nonconformity may be created or increased. So that would be a conflict by creating the 4 additional parking spaces at 125. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. I want to thank Sheila, John, and Kevin. We definitely hear your concerns. Matt, reading into the comment and reading the comment last, I know you have to read the comment, and I know we have so we talk about if a lot of the commentary is the same, that we would try to summarize some of it. Are you going to do that for us?
Correct, yeah. So our rules and regulations allow us, when there is a common theme from public comment, what we can do is do our best to summarize it, but we will, however, put it on the screen.
Great.
For each person to see. Give me 1 second.
All right.
These 2 here those were included in the staff report. The first one is from a Marnie Barnes from 15 Howland Ave. This is opposition, discusses traffic in and out of a small driveway, would like consideration to the character of the neighborhood, property values, good tax revenue for the city, and then tenants that have voiced their concerns. The next one comes from a Thomas Brennan who lives at the property, and he is also in opposition. Talks a little bit about them being old homes, needing many repairs. Goes on to describe in detail some of the repairs that are needed. And also, I should have said this so everyone is aware, the board members have received and read all of this information prior to this hearing. Again, all of this information has been provided to the board members and they have read it. And he goes on to talk a little bit about his personal situation in terms of rent, the close of the letter. The next one comes from a Paul Brooks. There is not an address on file. This individual states that they would like to register their supreme displeasure at the proposal. Talks a little about the landlord and current maintenance issues associated with the property, discusses green space at the property being limited, and discusses proper notice not being given for the application. The next one comes from a Charles Kurtzall, resident of 11 Greenview Drive. Person is writing in opposition, talking about more rental units needing more parking, traffic increases, and then maintenance property issues again. The next one is an email chain between a Glenn Kuykendall and myself. This individual is also writing in opposition, discusses concerns with the sign, talks about the owner being an absent neighbor, resident complaints to this individual as well. Another letter from Glenn Kuykendall, same person, same property address, talks about being 21 years residing as a homeowner on Highland Parkway, issues with contacting the Parks Department to get upkeep on the Highland Parkway Mall. Talks a little bit more about issues with the owner, and then closes with the density of city living is the preference. resident of different neighborhoods. And talks a little bit more about the property owner at the end. Another one comes from Shirley Adoni. This is a resident of 125 Highland Parkway. Also opposition, parking in front and behind of each building is full. Lived there for 5 years, problems with buildings, goes on to talk a little bit about ongoing issues with the property and the property owner. Pictures also supplied with that application. Kevin Fager, who we, I believe, heard from tonight, 34 Greenview Drive, letter in opposition, talks about the property being in the R1 zone, talks a little bit about building code issues, talks about the exterior signage, which has been previously mentioned, discusses parking, and a plan for snow removal. This is a several-page letter from a Sandra Handley of 700 East Avenue, states that this individual's family resided at the property for 2 years, talks about ongoing issues at the property when they were a tenant, and that was a common theme throughout that letter. A letter that came from Catherine Henry, who resides at the property, 125 Highland Parkway. Opposition revolves around people working from home, construction, concerned about sound, deterioration of quality of life, keeping green space and not expanding the parking. Chris and Tom Kelly, there is not an address there is 135 Highland Parkway. Residents for over 40 years, the parking lot for the apartment building considered here tonight. They are against the project. Concerns around parking, the impact of inevitable traffic increases of concern for them, and building maintenance and ongoing issues with the property as well. This individual also supplied photos. Again, all of these comments have been received and read by the zoning board, so we are summarizing this evening. This next letter comes from Sheila Murphy, who we did hear from this evening. She wrote in opposition to this, discusses the site and the two buildings being former Colgate Divinity dormitories. The additional apartments would create an already crowded property, just packing more people in. Discusses recent communication with the applicant. Talks more about that meeting. Discusses more about quality of life and environmental issues due to parking taking up more green space. Next one comes also from Sheila Murphy, regarding building code issue. Next one comes from Mary Ann and Tom Rutkowski of 77 Highland Parkway, talking about they've been residents of the street since 1988. They are in opposition, increased traffic, additional parking is inadequate for the proposal, and the owner-occupied neighborhood should not, this individual states the owner-occupied neighborhood should not have to support more rental property, especially with the approved vistas at Highland in the adjacent area. This next one comes from a Derek Terry, opposition, lack of parking, noise, resident of the property. Next one is from Bob Thompson. This individual resides at 1068 South Goodman Street. He wrote in some of the background on the property being located in IPD as the remnant of the former Colgate Divinity School. Colgate selling off the property prior to the campus being sold, but the zoning never being changed. Discusses in the third paragraph down issues regarding the posted notice in association with the application. And then parking is a concern as well. And also Bob included an email chain between city staff and himself, as well as some photos of the entryway, appears to be the entryway of the property. This next one comes from an Alexandra Torno. Property address is a resident of the property, 125 Highland Parkway, new resident to the building. This is in opposition to adding 3 new apartments in the building she's in. Concerns around construction, eliminating yard, making room for more parking. The next one is, the last one actually was requested to be anonymous, that's right. You know, the person did not want to give their name, as they requested, so the board can take that into consideration. So we did include it, but just keep in mind the person did not provide their name. And that is the last of the public comment. And I just want to say one additional thing, actually two additional things. So the first of which is keep in mind here, we've heard a lot about property maintenance issues. We've heard a lot about building code requirements. The applicant will have to meet the building code. This talk around egress, this talk around sprinkler systems, you know, we heard a lot about that from members of the public. All of that will be dealt with when they submit for building code compliance. This board's charge is specific to the use of the property and expanding the number of dwelling units. And because it's not allowed, that's why they're here tonight seeking a variance because it does not meet the code. And the second piece of that is around the posted notice requirement. So the code has language around whether or not the zoning board feels that minor defects in the posted is substantial enough to hear the case or to decide on the case this evening. So that is the remainder of the public comments. I'll turn it back to the chair to give the.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. So Heidi, you've got 5 minutes to rebut that testimony if you choose to.
I just want to say I appreciate all the comments tonight, and I'd like to postpone, if we can, the decision.
Yes, I think the board needed time because we haven't reviewed the seeker, so we were going to keep the case open. If the board was in agreement, I don't know if any of the board members had any other comments or questions because we didn't get a chance to review that yet. Any other board members, any thoughts on that?
Heidi, I just want to check with you. Are you looking to be played? And you're more than welcome to do this. I just want to get you down now and we can announce this during the hearing. If you're looking to do the next hearing, it is January 21st. It will be the same format, Zoom. Do you want to announce that now, or do you want to, we can work after this and we can come up with a time frame that works for you?
Yes.
It's entirely up to you.
Yes, we'll announce it now.
Okay, so I want to make sure there's no objection from the board members. The applicant is requesting a post adjournment now and a postponement to the January 21st, 2021 zoning board hearing.
It's fine with me.
No objections from the board. Okay, so seeing none, what we will do is this case will be held this evening and it will be heard again at the January 21st, 2021 zoning board hearing. And that board hearing will take place in the same fashion as this via Zoom webinar. So all the same rules and regulations apply for that.
Is Heidi
thank you.
still there?
I'm sorry?
Is Heidi still there on the call?
Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
Yep, I am.
Hey, Heidi, if you have some time, try to do another Zoom with these with the neighbors. They've got some serious concerns. So if you got some time, try to talk to them again if you want to move forward with this project. I just think just a word of advice for you, okay? Thank you very
Great
much.
idea. Thank you.
Happy holidays to you and Roger.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your time. Good night.
All right, and the last case of the evening is case number 7. This is file V-032-2021. The applicant is the property owner, Greg Irwin. The project address is at 50 Edgerton Street, and the zoning district is the R1 low density residential district. The request is to legalize the construction of a patio in the front yard of a single family dwelling, not meeting the location requirements. And we have Greg here this evening.
Is Joe back?
Oh, and yes, he is. Yeah.
All righty. We all set. Do we have Gregory with us? Gregory, you go by Gregory or Greg? What would you like me to call you?
You can call me Greg. That's fine. Thank you.
Oh, Spencer's there. Hi guys. You're the last one. So let's get through this. Let me swear you in. Do you confirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, guys, 15 minutes. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you to the board for your service and what you do. And we want to thank everybody that we've worked with through this process. This is our first time through, and we've had a lot of people helping us. So it's been eye-opening and a really neat experience for us. And we also wanted to say this is a really neat format that you guys were able to do in these unprecedented times. So we appreciate that. We've lived in this house for over 4 years now, and we love being here in the neighborhood and in this Park Ave community. And for a while now, we've really been interested in having an area out front to enjoy the community and our neighbors and their dogs that they walk by. And so, looking around, we wanted a space much like or similar to all of the other houses on our street and really in our area. So the backstory here is during quarantine, we decided to start looking at options for that and researching, and we came up with the idea for the patio. And we as you can see on pages 18 and 19 there of the pictures, we made it so that it was really within the confines and not protruding out beyond the porches of the directly neighboring houses there. So it's really modest in nature. And we feel and hope that the board does too, that it fits with not only the house, but the neighborhood and the feel that we're looking to provide in the area of openness and welcoming between neighbors passing by and us there on the porch. As you can see, the project is already started, and we wanted to earnestly apologize. We thought we were within the confines, and as soon as we were notified that we weren't, we immediately stopped and started going through this process. So if we had known, we would not have done that, and we do want to apologize for that. But while going through the permit process, we've been able to enjoy the patio a little bit based on where it's at, and really have enjoyed the summer and fall months. And we've met more neighbors and their dogs in the past few months than we have the entire 4 years living here previously, because this house does not have a front space really to enjoy, and this would provide that for us. As you can see, it is set back from the street a good distance, as I mentioned, and so our area of variance is to request that the patio be located in the front yard of our home, so we can have a place to enjoy the neighborhood. As you can also see in the application, on pages about 20 through 30 of the application, we do have a great deal of support from the community, and about, I think, 19 letters of support from neighbors and community members. So, our intent and goal was and still is obviously to keep with the character of the neighborhood, and we wanted to make sure that our neighbors felt the patio did that, and I hope that those letters show that they do. We do intend to landscape around into the sides of the patio to help. There's a lilac bush to one side now and rose bushes to the other. Because it's winter, they don't look like they're there, but they are, and we were going to do some other low level landscaping around the lilac bush as well. So, and through this process, we were introduced actually to Rochester's 2034 comprehensive plan, which was neat. We didn't know it existed actually before this process, and reading through it was one great, because being a member of Rochester, both having grown up here and living here, we got to see where Rochester's going. And we also think that the patio really does help and move toward that plan of a lot of pieces of it, and including the healthy living and the pedestrian scapes and everything that is there in the application. So we won't go too much further. It's been a long day, but we're very open to questions, obviously, and are excited to continue and finish out the process.
Thank you so much, Greg. We appreciate it. We're opening it up to the board for questions. Jim, go right ahead.
Well, I think the two of you should probably put big gold stars on your forehead right now, because you actually admitted that this is self-created. This is rare that anybody would say that.
Yeah.
Well, when I read the package and I said, this might be a hard sell, and then I realized when I went out and took a look at it a couple of days ago, that your house is an oddity because you don't have a porch, whereas the houses on both sides do. And it's like the house doesn't fit in there. And the very fact that you were gonna almost line up with the other two spots was quite refreshing to me. So I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Matt, any questions?
No questions.
Lorraine, any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Cora, any questions?
I'm looking at it now on Google Image, and it looks much different in this spring picture than it did today when I drove by and it was snowing. But I guess my only question is, had you considered a design that maybe was more, I guess like in line with the porches, neighboring? I know it's not quite in line with the door and the steps, but having it maybe more elevated or a little bit, I don't know. Had you considered any different designs than just?
Yeah, so I'll take that one. So we were looking at the option of putting a porch in similar to what our neighbors have, that by the true definition of a porch that's covered and wrap around and would attach to the front door. Couple things that went into our decision why we didn't feel like that was the right option for our house. One is because our front door is on the side, you would have to walk out and around to get there, which just didn't feel great. The second one is we really like to talk with our neighbors, and a lot of times what we find is those neighbors who are up on their porch, you don't always see them up there. So while they can see people walking by, the people walking by can't always see them to engage in conversation, and that was something that was really important to us. And the last piece is we love the front of our house. We love the style and the look of our house, and a porch that wrapped around and had a roof coming over it, we felt would actually detract from the look of our house as a Cape style house, the only Cape style house along our street, which is why we opted for this version.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, any questions?
No, because I agree with Cora 100%. I mean, I just think this is totally out of character with the whole neighborhood. I just don't know. I mean, I have no comments.
Holly, any questions?
Just a question about I'm glad that pictures are up here. So is there behind that bush in the top picture, is there any way to get to the patio from there, or do you have to walk across your grass to get there?
No, so those are rose bushes that go all the way back to the house. So the only way to get there is we have a walkway all the way to the sidewalk. So either from the sidewalk, or we have the driveway. If you see the bottom picture, that was taken from the driveway.
Okay, so you pretty much have to be on your grass to get to the patio.
Correct.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, I really appreciate your application and the thoughtfulness you went into it. My comments align with Cora and Joe. I just think this is totally out of character with the neighborhood. I mean, I think last year we had a patio come before us in the South Wedge that the porch was like you guys have right now, your front porch, and it didn't have a roof to it. And I mean, we denied that because of it and wanted the folks to go back and put a roof on it. I think you guys should have really considered this wraparound porch because it really would have fit the character, and I think you wouldn't have been before us. This is going to be a tough one for us, to just be clearly honest with you. I like to be very frank with folks before we go into deliberations, but we do appreciate the information from neighbors and all the work. This is a very thorough application for what I see you guys did so far. So thank you for spending the time and energy. So just comments as you listen to our deliberations. I like to just give you a heads up.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone has been very open and honest with us from the beginning. We knew that it was a different application. We knew that it was a different style. We had hoped that the feelings of our neighbors that it fits in would, be echoed in what you guys feel. But certainly we understand that, everyone has different thoughts, and you guys have done this for a long time. But we appreciate that.
Part of our charge here, we have to think about beyond us, because what we approve goes with the life of these properties. So beyond all of us. So that's what we consider as well. So I'm going to see if we got any additional comment that may have come in. Matt.
No, nothing additional has come in beyond what's in the staff report. Before we adjourn the case or close the case though, I just want to make sure if any board members have any questions around any changing of materials or sort of a different look patio or any mitigating things, just to have those conversations now before we go into deliberations.
Matt, question for you. So I think Spencer was talking about they researched adding a wraparound porch connecting to their current porch, adding a roof. Would they need a variance or would that be considered a front? That's considered a front porch, correct?
Right. Yeah. So correct. So the porch definition includes it's a roofed structure. So if they were to put something up with a roof, they would not need a variance. I just want to make sure the conversations around any, and there may not need to be any conversation around it, but just to make sure that the bases are covered in terms of any change to materials and what have you.
Okay, Matt. So I'm glad you mentioned that because it brought up one question I had. Is there any is that the original house construction? Is there any photographs of what was there? Was it reconstructed at one time? Because the house above the foundation looks different and new. And
yeah, it's a good point.
The foundation looks the period. I'm wondering if it burned down at one time and they just rebuilt it like this with no front porch. Because every house on that street has a front porch. Maybe the applicant knows a history about it, or do we have any historical photos of that house?
Yeah, so I'll let the applicant talk about it, but it's a great question. When the applicant first came to me, we had a whole conversation about this. So you're absolutely right. The answer to your question is the era of construction for his house, or their house, I should say, far predates the rest of the houses. This was one of the original ones. And so if the applicant wants to talk a little bit about that.
No. Okay. So it's actually just the opposite of what I thought. This house is actually older than all the other ones.
Yeah, it's late 1800s and the rest of them are 1920s.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and obviously, as you can see, it's set side. It's a cape, right? But it's set sideways on the property that faces the actual street at this point. So it's unusual in that nature, as well as being the only cape, not only on the street, but one of the few, I think, in the area, if not the only. So there's a lot of unusualities. I'm going to make up a word there for you.
Yeah, the house was built in the late
That's interesting.
1800s, 1890, I think, around there. So as Matt said, it was one of the first houses in the neighborhood. We like to think that she's the old lady in the neighborhood, and we love her for it.
Yeah.
I had a follow-up question. That question is, you got 4 posts that are upright. Of course, you couldn't finish your construction, but how are you going to connect those, or what was that going to look like?
Yeah, so we had railings to go along the two short sides, so the side along the driveway and parallel or perpendicular to the sidewalk. And then we were going to do it. This actually makes it look a little longer, but shorter railings on the inside to make it so there's a nice big open entryway with a step to get up to the porch. That way it's very opening and inviting, but there's still this look that it's finished and has that railing around the side, so it doesn't just look like a platform in the middle of our lawn.
I just want to make sure that didn't change.
Nope, didn't change.
And one of my co-board members mentioned how do you access that? You said you can do it from the driveway on the right, and I didn't know if you put down some kind of stone or wherever it is, patio blocks to get to that driveway. I'm just not sure how far ahead you are in your thinking there.
Yeah, access is actually solely from the front. So there will be the what'd you call it?
The siding.
Yeah, the siding around both sides, and then the only entryway is that one step up in the front. So there's not direct access from the driveway or anywhere else.
Hey, thanks again.
Absolutely.
I have a question. I'm just wondering if you could do some. I have the same sentiments that everyone else has, but I'm wondering to keep in the house or the porch in the same era that it was built. I'm wondering, have you done any research to see what type of porches or extensions or whatever that a Cape Cod, right? Is it a Cape Cod type house would have? And I'm wondering if you did that. I'm wondering if you might find something that's a little bit more appealing to the era of the house, maybe, because I don't think this really is either. Honestly, I appreciate what you've done, but I have to agree with everyone else. So I'm just wondering if that might be a consideration.
Yeah,
we done that.
Yeah, we did look up a bit with the Cape style houses. Unfortunately, what we find is most of them are along the long side of the house because that's where the roof line comes down. So when you put a roof over it, it makes more sense when the roof line comes out. So unfortunately, we didn't find anything that allows or that really shows a porch on the small side, the short side, the peak side of a Cape, so to speak.
I know what you can do. You have to turn the house around. So
we might have to talk to our neighbors about that.
We'll pull a George Eastman and lift it and rotate it.
There you go.
Do any other board members have any additional questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Spencer and Greg. We're going to close case number 7. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so this will conclude the December 17th, 2020 zoning board hearing for the city of Rochester. We will take if the board wants to go right into deliberations, that's fine. We just need a couple of minutes to switch the stream over. Do you guys want to go right into deliberations?
I'm good with that.
Okay, so I'm looking at the clock. It's 8:22. We'll start the deliberations at 8:25. Just give 3 minutes to switch everything over.